he could just get his Jeffrey Epstein scandal to go away, that his cover up would be successful. But Donald Trump forgot he surrounded himself with idiots when he put together his administration. That's just the truth. And it has allowed Democrats, especially in the House Oversight Committee, to continue to pile up the wins. And the latest wasn't just exposing Donald Trump, but exposing those connected to Epstein and Trump. The associates play such a big role. And in doing so, they exposed Epstein's lawyer, making an admission that now has Donald Trump posting like a crazy person about files. We're going to get into it all, but before we do, if I could quickly ask you to leave a like on this video, and if you haven't already and you enjoy our channel, to hit that subscribe button because it goes a long way. But before we can get into Donald Trump's insane post and the admission from the Epstein and Trump lawyer blowing up this entire scandal, I want to start with a sentiment I think is so important when we're talking about Epstein from Jasmine Crockett.
So here's the thing. Like, obviously, this is concerning to have a potential pedophile as a president. That is concerning, right? But this is like even bigger than him. I want people to understand the information that we were given about foreign governments and their participation, the information we were given about our own federal government and how high of a level we're talking about as far as like them being in cahoots. We know that JP Morgan Chase ended up paying out a large settlement because they basically kind of looked the other way as there were these ridiculous wire transfers that were going by. We know that there were fake corporations that were set up. We know that, or at least we've been told that there were fake immigration documents that were put together so that women from other countries could end up over here. We know that there were allegedly fake marriages. This goes and it reeks through every single level of government. And it's one of those reasons that these survivors have been quiet for so long, right? Because literally they would walk in and they would see these pictures of Epstein with all of these powerful people from all over the world. And then he would threaten them and say, if you say anything, just know I know everybody, right? And so I think if we are going to prevent Epstein 2.0, or if Epstein 2.0 is taking place right now, I think it's important that we nip this in the bud right now and we learn what we did not know and we put some safeguards in place to prevent this type of thing from happening.
The focus cannot just be on Donald Trump. Of course, Trump is covering for himself, but what he is most worried about is those associates of Epstein, those people who were close to both of them starting to talk. We were able to obtain that birthday book, that letter that Donald Trump sent Epstein for his 50th birthday because of a subpoena to the Epstein estate. Not the FBI, not the DOJ, not the White House, but the estate. It's why the DOJ right now is blocking NBC News from uncovering the name of two Epstein associates who were wired hundreds of thousands of dollars because they know once you start to pull that thread, it all comes apart, especially when there are so many connections to Trump and Epstein like Rachel Maddow laid out right here.
What happened to the lawyer who got Epstein his bizarrely lenient plea deal when he was first arrested on sex trafficking charges in Florida? What happened to the lawyer who got him that bizarrely lenient plea deal? Well, Trump hired him to be his own lawyer. What happened to the U.S. attorney who gave Jeffrey Epstein that bizarrely lenient plea deal? Trump put him in his cabinet in his first term. Well, who then prosecuted Epstein a second time when he was brought up on federal charges? That was the SDNY line prosecutor who Trump inexplicably fired last week. Who was in charge of the Department of Justice and the Bureau of Prisons when Epstein then killed himself in federal custody? President Donald Trump. Who bragged to a reporter about how much Epstein seemed to like women on the younger side? Who said Epstein was a lot of fun to be with? Who bragged that he was friends with Epstein for 15 years? Who flew on his plane at least 7 times? And who now says that everybody needs to stop talking about Jeffrey Epstein right now?
All of these people are interconnected. They saw Trump's crimes. They saw his friendship with Epstein. They know what Donald Trump is trying to hide in those files. And some of it became public today, especially the connection between Epstein, his lawyer, who was also Trump's lawyer, and money moving around at a very disturbing rate. and it led to an insane Trump post, but I first want to start with that article breaking down the Trump lawyer admission. Trump lawyer admits how many millions he earned representing Epstein. Lawyer Alan Dershowitz has revealed how much money he was paid to negotiate the late offender Jeffrey Epstein's sweetheart prison deal in 2008. The disgraced financier paid Dershowitz, who represented Donald Trump during his first impeachment trial, about $3 million for his help securing the deal, the celebrity attorney told Bloomberg. The figure was revealed in connection with a trove of Epstein's personal emails that was obtained by the outlet, which also discovered that Dershowitz's support for Epstein went beyond legal advocacy. These people all ran in the same groups and they were given millions of dollars. That same article detailed that Epstein's legal expenses over the course of a decade were about $54 million. Now, those are wires, those are payments that have largely been blocked by the FBI, and it's why Donald Trump is trying to distract us from talking about them with this post right here. Trump took to Truth Social with thoughts on files by writing, "I have been asked by many people about the life and times of Amelia Earhart. Such an interesting story, and I would consider declassifying and releasing everything about her, in particular her last fatal flight. She was an aviation pioneer, the first woman to fly solo across the Atlantic Ocean, and achieved many other aviation firsts. She disappeared," and Donald Trump continued to write about Amelia Earhart, saying that his administration wants to declassify and release all records related to her life. Thank you for your attention to the matter. I don't even want to say that this is a distraction. Like, this is just trolling. He is giving the middle finger to MAGA. He believes that they are this stupid. I think that's an important thing to recognize. And if I ever spent any time around Trump supporters, I would ask them. Thank God that I don't have that burden in my life. But I would say, do you realize how dumb Donald Trump thinks you are? He thinks you're like a puppy dog, that like, or like a cat, where you just like shine a little laser beam on the ground. Okay, I don't know why I just did that on camera. That was embarrassing. We're gonna cut that out. No, we're gonna leave it in. It's like Donald Trump thinks that you'll just like you'll jump for the chew toy MAGA. You'll jump for the little laser beam. I still can't believe I just did that little cat thing. We're gonna move past it though. There's more important things to talk about. But that's how dumb Donald Trump thinks MAGA is. That he can just throw them the red meat of Amelia Earhart and her final flight like this is some matter of national security. These people are just so dumb, and Donald Trump recognizes it. Why do you think he has spent his entire political career grifting off of them? Because he knows the dollars will keep flowing. He knows they're just that dumb. And he knows if he indicts James Comey, maybe they'll start to see that as a win, and Trump going after the deep state, when in fact the deep state is now who is responsible for indicting James Comey. Donald Trump has talked tirelessly. It's just so much bitching and complaining about how Joe Biden and the DOJ and Merrick Garland, who never did shit in his time in the government, went after Donald Trump. They went after him. They're politically persecuting him. Well, clearly not, because Tom Homan got to walk away with $50,000 in cash in a bag. Donald Trump's name was in the Epstein files and we didn't release it. And the man who stole classified documents, slept with a porn star and then falsified tax information about it, covered it up. And then what else did he go on to do? I don't know, maybe send a violent mob to the Capitol. We couldn't bust him on any of that. You had 4 years, Merrick Garland. What were you doing? Were you not seemingly persecuting Donald Trump as this political exercise? Because that's what he claims. But it seems like that wasn't the case, because it obviously didn't work out. But now that's exactly what Donald Trump is doing. James Comey is a perfect example. And I think we should talk about how this is not a deep state conspiracy, but it's a deep state clear as day. Like, it's obvious. Jessica Tarlov broke it down perfectly right here.
You guys can start calling the shots.
He has appointed enough members of the Supreme Court to get away with everything. And that's essentially what's going on here. So you had Michael Horowitz, who is the special counsel, who said in his report, the overwhelming weight of that evidence supports Comey's version of the conversation. They also tried to go after Andy McCabe. They couldn't pull that up.
He never interviewed
Comey. I think that
Comey.
everybody
He never
should
interviewed
pay attention to what Andy McCarthy was saying this morning, and he has a piece up in the National Review. The indictment against Comey should be dismissed. He said to Maria Bartiromo, this indictment is not about the Russia investigation, which is what you want to make it seem like, but it's not at all. It's completely detached from that investigation, and it seems to be premised on something that's not true. I don't think there's a case. I love Ted, about Ted Cruz, but McCabe never said that Comey authorized it. This is about leaking to the press. Don't think that the case gets to trial. If you wanted to get dismissed, maybe for selective prosecution, look no further than the president's social media posts or what he's saying to those gaggles. And also, it makes no sense to me why Donald Trump doesn't like Jim Comey, because Comey delivered him the election.
What we are seeing playing out in this administration is really part of such a much larger multi-step process. You know, I think the biggest takeaway from the Comey indictment, but besides his response, which I want to talk about because I thought it was so important, and we did last night, is that I saw tweets from just, MAGA influencers, but even those in government, J.D. Vance, Kash Patel, Pam Bondi, they were pushing a similar sentiment that if you work for the DOJ and you don't think James Comey should have been indicted, then you should be fired, right? They make these insane criminal corrupt moves and use it as a permission structure to engage in these loyalty tests, right? That's what all the Charlie Kirk firings were about. They inflate their actions. They do whatever they want, and then if you challenge them, which honestly they want you to do, so they can root you out, they have a reason to fire you. Because going against this administration to them is betraying America. And of course, we know that's not true, but that's what Donald Trump wants you to believe. And so if we want to talk about the deep state, if we want to talk about who's loyal to serving a political cause rather than doing their job in the government, it's everyone in MAGA. This is what was outlined in Project 2025, and it's pretty clear. That is why it is so important that we do have people like James Comey willing to stand up, call this out for the bullshit that it is, and fight. Not bend the knee, not pre-capitulate, not say, well, it was a good run, but actually fight it out. Because Donald Trump will lose. We have to remember that. We have to know that. Donald Trump is a loser at heart. He is going to lose this fight if we take it on. He just did with Jimmy Kimmel. Sinclair, they did their 2 nights of, oh, we're not going to put him back on. And do you know what they're doing now? They're putting Jimmy Kimmel back on the air. It's not just the FCC losing that fight, Sinclair too. Because they can't deal with the power that we have. They're not bigger than it. They're not inevitable. The corporate interests can only pry on us if we allow them to by electing people who will serve them instead of electing people who will serve us. So let's make that very clear and fighting back. And of course, talking about those Epstein files. And if you want to support our work doing that on this show, as always, you can hit that subscribe button, leave a like on this video. If you stuck around to the end, drop a blue heart in the comments. And if you want to support the show in another way, as always, you can click right here or down below to become a subscriber to my Substack, a paid or free subscription, one of the best ways to support this show. Keep on fighting. Don't let them silence you. And until next time, I'll see you soon.